A very warm welcome to another episode of Today's Parent, where we endeavor to connect you with experts and provide you with information to make your parenting journey a bit more easier. I'm your host, Christine Kasina. In today's episode, we are talking about the holidays. How can we avoid accidents? How do we prepare for the holidays? Today's episode is about preventing accidents during the holidays. And in studio today, we have Meshach from ePlus, who's going to share with us tips when it comes to preparing for the holidays and preventing any accidents that could possibly happen. Meshach, welcome to Today's Parent.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure as well.
Do you think we need to get to a place in time where holiday preparedness becomes a thing? Maybe you could define for us what holiday preparedness is, so that, by the time you get onto the road with an unworthy vehicle, how do we prepare for the holidays in a better way?
All right, thank you for having me. I think holiday preparedness is something that's sometimes overlooked or done in a haphazard way. If it's the father, he goes to the garage, tries to make sure his car is ready for the trip.
A day before?
Yeah, and that's when everyone has gone to the garage, so probably by the time you leave, it is in the afternoon the following day. Yeah, so then the mom is trying to pack everything for the kids, and the kids are still all over the place. If they're younger, then they know they're not involved in the packing. Yeah. It's the mom's work to pack. So you realize that sometimes there are things that the father will not be able to complete at the garage. Time is going, they decide to travel, and maybe the one thing that they needed to sort is the one thing they left. And one thing you realize, most people, other than for compliance purposes, they rarely carry a first aid kit, for example. So in case, because you carry certain things such as foodstuffs, or so the kids can get choked.
Yes.
You find also there are
the usual clothes as well.
Yes. So maybe maybe the kids, if they're younger one, maybe they wet themselves. So you really have to stop. The father is unhappy with stopping and preparing. I mean, we need to reach our destination. So they end up driving at night. So assuming the one thing that the dad didn't fix was his lights, and he's driving at night.
God forbid.
So that already creates an emergency of sort, because now they really arrive late, or someone does not see them on the road, or there's someone overtaking, they didn't see them coming. So again, that becomes a hazard. The child may choke on something that they're eating.
Yeah. Or
there's some hot tea because there was an emergency braking, then someone gets burnt with tea. So all those are emergencies taking place, all in this one trip, that either you're going on holiday or you're going down to the village. So all those are scenarios that for us in safety, we would always encourage parents to avoid.
And Meshach, you've said it very well, that it's something we need to think about it prior. How many of us pack first aid kits to go with on holiday or to the village? I'm sure very few people.
Yes, actually, interesting. Very few people, or if they pack, it is not equipped. It doesn't have what is necessary for as a first aid kit.
So let's talk about the first aid kit.
Yeah.
What needs to be in the first aid kit?
From some of the basic things, you need to have bandages. You need to have an antiseptic fluid in there. Mm-hmm. You need to have. We've kind of moved away from the cotton wool. We have something called gauzes. It looks netish like, which is now used for cleaning wounds. You will need, of course, the bandage. You need to, how do you fasten that bandage for someone who is injured? You have something called iPad, in case a foreign object gets into your eye, or there's damage to the eye, you need to be able to protect the eye, among other things. But also something like a scissors cutting through. We have kits that are provided for the Red Cross. Yeah. They have two types of let's call them scissors for now. There's one which is for cutting through lighter material, another that cuts through things like jeans or safety belts. Mm-hmm. So you see, if you have an accident and your safety belt is stuck, you have no way of coming out of it if you've not cut through something. So certain things like that, if that will help you in terms of your preparedness, and also dealing with small cuts. You need to have what our version called elastoplast. that you need to have in terms of if there are small cuts, how do you arrest that? If it was bleeding, how do you arrest it? How do you clean it?
Yeah.
How do you put elastoplast on it? Such things as that. And are you also, one thing that sometimes people don't have is, do you have liquids in your car?
What kind of liquids?
Do you have water?
Water.
Yeah, because you need to be hydrated even as you travel. Yeah, because sometimes dehydration happens. It gives you blood vision as you're driving.
That's
so it
true.
again
That's
leads
true.
to other
That's true.
emergencies as well. So it's not just, the parents should not just think of themselves in terms of safety of themselves, but safety of your children
Yeah.
and your spouse as well.
Yeah.
So that when you arrive well. Another key thing is you need to leave early, arrive early. Don't aim to travel at night and arrive at night, and you may have been tired, you are leaving work, you decide, 24th, I was given half day, then the afternoon and I am driving for 5 hours. So again, you avoid those emergency scenarios
Yeah.
that, that could arise that emergencies can arise out of such scenarios.
All right, Meshach, before we went on this holiday, we were at home. And being the festive season, especially when it's Christmas, you have a lot of people who still put up the Christmas tree. I don't know if you have put one in your home. Don't worry, you don't need to answer. But in the process of, putting up the Christmas tree, decorating it, you have people who use tools, and there are falls that could happen. For common falls during the festive season, like when you're putting up your Christmas tree, how can we avoid such falls? And if they happen, what do you need to do?
Yeah, falls are something that's common, and most people, especially men, when they fall, they just stand up like nothing has happened, but they know they are suffering as a result, because from a fall, you can have a sprained ankle, you could have a broken bone from it, you can get swellings, and there could be other internal injuries which you don't know about.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we've had cases where we've responded to, where you're responding to someone who had an old injury. They fell down a flight of steps. It's not just, there could be different areas where they fall from. Or they were playing, they fell from the tree, they're playing with their children. So all those, it's always important to have it checked. You need to check, is it just a sprain? Is it a broken bone? Because if you ignore it, it obviously becomes worse, it swells. And now by the time you're actually managing that situation, it's much worse than, and whatever will be needed to do to manage the result of your fall, whatever injury you had, will take much more time, much more money. You are grounded for a longer period of time. So there's a lot of wastage in between. So it's important to have it checked and just be assured that it is okay. But after you fall, it's good to rest. Don't be quick to stand up and show how macho you are. Just rest. Then once the swelling comes down, then at least you have an idea. If it doesn't come down, then you probably need to have it checked by a doctor.
So the point where you need to get it checked is when the swelling does not go down, or you're in persistent pain, for example.
Partly, yeah, because when it's swollen, it's difficult to know. You will just scream in pain. Then you will suspect that this person has either it's either a sprain or a broken bone. Yeah. So sometimes the swelling doesn't come in immediately. So when you fall, then it's good to check at that time. If you've never undertaken any training, which is another thing that's important, to have undertaken a first aid training, or at least a first aid awareness session, to just have an idea of how to take care of such scenarios. You need to just check. It will be difficult, but it's good to check whether it'll tell you where is the pain. Is it increasing as I move this way? Is it not? So then at least it gives you an indication.
Okay.
If you still have concerns, it's just better just to
go to the hospital.
Hopefully it's not you driving, but at least go to the hospital, because you might aggravate it, whatever it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Christmas tree, you then get people who light up the Christmas tree, and of course that's connected to the main. Do you get cases in your line of work where people are electrocuted during, the festive season? Maybe they're trying to light up the Christmas tree. And either way, how can we prevent, electric accidents in the home during that festive season?
It's not very common to have electrocution cases. I think maybe because when you were younger, maybe the older generation, you're younger, there was always this thing of, don't be near the,
Yes.
electrical, and this can happen to you. There are those even who played with, I think in high school, there was instances where people played with electricity, got a shock, and they realized the impact.
Do not play with electricity.
Yes. So I think that's partly ingrained in us,
Okay.
that don't play with electricity. I think the danger will be for our children, those who have yet to know what it's all about. So let's avoid anything that has exposed wires or
Yeah.
exposed cabling. That needs to either be taped up, or you need to move it away from places where you can encounter it and
Yeah.
then get shock. Then also look at your Christmas tree lighting. Is there exposure? Are the bulbs all okay? Have one has one already busted? Then
Yeah, there's a
it
loose wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you avoid all that. So it's good to take precaution. You don't wait until something happens, then you have those challenges. And
Yeah.
even in your because again, there's going to be concerts, there's going to be
Oh, yes.
home bashes.
Yeah.
So then there's also going to be an increased usage of power. So again, it's not just for the parent and the child, but even that parent would be at work during this Christmas season, whether they are in the entertainment industry, so they're engaging with that. So maybe sometimes they may go with their children. Some of those
Scenarios.
gigs, yeah.
Yes.
So again, you always need to be cautious. Never assume that you are okay, or you can handle any scenario, and avoid neglect the aspect of safety. Yeah. So if you neglect it, it will remind you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Is there a first aid Meshach for electrocution if it's not fatal?
Ideally, what we were told still works, whereby if someone is still being electrocuted, you hit them with something that doesn't transmit electricity. Mostly it's wood, or you're on top of a wood, something wooden or something that doesn't conduct electricity. When they're down, most of the time is you just put them on the side, and you'll check if there are any burns, because ideally, if you've been electrocuted for long, there might be burns from it. Then now you now tip the burns, put a wet a cloth around it.
Okay.
So then it remains with that. It helps in relieving the pain.
Okay.
Because ideally, with first aid, there are three things in which you're supposed to achieve. Whether you are reducing or removing the pain, you are saving a life. The third thing has just disappeared from my mind. Yeah, but anyway, the third thing, of course, is also important. So all your actions are leading towards that. Are you relieving the pain? Are you saving a life? Or are you not making that situation worse?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we go on the break, if we can touch on food poisoning, because what happens, we've started this safari, and I remember especially when we were young, at every stop, we wanted to eat something different. You have your vendor selling maize through the window, yogurt, and all these things. So food poisoning, of course, is something that, during the holidays, we need to worry about that. What causes food poisoning, and how can we prevent it?
Of course, food poisoning, when you interact with anything that has dirt or bacteria in it. So then that comes into your body, and your body reacts. So how does your body react? It tries to flush out
the poison.
Yes. So you end up having a bloated stomach, or you're running, you have to go to the toilet so many times. So in that process, you have to remember that you are losing fluids from your body. So you need to rehydrate. So then and that also helps in the cleansing and releasing of the fluids. Yes, there are drugs that you can take to try and fasten that process.
Okay.
But that is one aspect of food poisoning. Another one is where you mix them, gather them. Whereby you're bringing so many different types of food, because this is the time you had saved, and you said you have to eat choma here, you have to this one, you have to mix, you're visiting different houses, different cooks cook things differently. It's not their fault, it's how they are. But that mix and gather them does wonders to your stomach as well. So you have to be cautious, and let's also try as much as we can to eat warm or hot food.
Okay.
Don't avoid a lot of cold food, because you have to remember that there's always still the challenge of because cholera also started that way. yeah, whereby contaminated food, it might start off as poisoning and then it escalates to other things. So it's always good to make sure you eat fresh food that you know where it's from, as much as you can.
All right, we are going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll continue our conversation. In today's episode, we have Meshach from E-Plus Emergency Medical Services sharing with us pointers when it comes to the holiday season, how we can prepare better, accidents that could possibly happen, and how we can avoid them. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after this. We are back from the break, and in today's episode, we have Meshach from E-Plus sharing with us tips when it comes to the holidays, how we can avoid the common accidents. Meshach, we have talked about falling, we've talked about burns in the car, and we've talked about electrocution, which we never think about. Mm-hmm. So during the holidays, I know the one thing most people are worried about, when you go on vacation and there's a pool, we worry about drowning. How do we prevent it from happening, apart from just watching our kids?
I think one important thing, which is because you always should start from preventing before it actually happens.
Absolutely.
So for every pool, it is important to make sure that there's a lifesaver there. Yeah. So that in case there is need to respond, there's somebody who is ready to
trained
do
for that.
And ready and trained for that.
Yeah.
Then secondly, even as much as your kid is playing, or your children are playing in the pool, always keep a watch on them and restrict the area in which they play. Some pools have a baby pool where the children of a certain age can still play, but doesn't mean that you should
leave them unsupervised.
Yes, because even that little water, depending on if they have not been used to a pool, a
child can drown.
Yeah, a child can drown, or they just drinking the water and they just or even for areas where there's a fountain. I'm sorry, I'm thinking very wild, but there are areas where, as part of their entertainment spot, they have a fountain that's near a pool. So two emergencies that can occur from there. One, the water is falling on them, and they could be just drinking in some excitement, but now when they drink and it goes to their windpipe. So they start coughing. So again, that creates a choking
hazard.
Yes. Secondly, even those stones, you find they're also slippery. Even pools, some entertainment spots that have pools, the tiles are not the rough ones, or they don't have them put in a terrace, or whatever is around the pool is not rough, so that doesn't give friction, and there's water. So it's very easy, not even in the pool, to fall with your head, slide and fall on your head there. And that creates a head injury, or other injuries that can, neck injuries, etc. In the pool itself, as I said, it's important to make sure that you know where the children are, where they are playing, or even a grown-up, because not every grown-up knows how to swim.
Yeah.
So, and it is made. The other challenge would be is if that parent is drinking. Yeah, because we've responded to cases where the parent or grown-ups have gone for to enjoy themselves somewhere, and they they are drinking. Then you're not. There are those effects that come from drinking. They fall into the pool. Either that person doesn't know how
to
swim, or they do, but because they're intoxicated, it presents a hazard. So that's where the lifesaver will help. So it's good don't drink near the pool, first of all, for grown-ups. Make sure there's a lifesaver there, and who is there throughout, because there are spots where if you're going for holiday in hotels, the lifesaver is not there 24 hours. Mm-hmm. They're only there for maybe 12 during the day, and then they leave.
And there's so many kids to watch,
Yes, so is there a plan for the evening when kids are swimming? So I guess if there's an incident of possible drowning, remove the particular patient, to remove that person out of the pool. Then you'll need to conduct CPR to them to make sure that they're able to, drain out the water
Yeah.
that has, or at least that has blocked their windpipe,
Yeah.
so that they're not being able to breathe. So once you do that, while you call for help, never, unless you're really trained as both as a medic, but you need to call for help, so that either an ambulance is being sent to come, it can be plus ambulance services, or at least you're calling for help from another medic so that you're able to support one another. Because if there's need for CPR, or if they have equipment at the hotel that you can utilize,
Yeah.
then that's something else you need to also look at. Yeah.
You know, Meshach, you've mentioned something that's interesting. When it comes to the holidays, the mood is different. Most people drink more. What kind of drinking-related emergencies have you encountered?
Well, one, I talked about the issues of either someone drinking near a pool. You have, of course, the usual fights that arise. It becomes very animated sometimes when some people are under the influence. Broken bottles, you have people who fallen on broken bottles, you have injuries such as that, or you have somebody who at one moment knew the door is this way when they were sober, and
The door moved.
So they hit. So I mean, interesting cases like that. But I think also the other the danger is that it is aggravated because the person who should help you is also under the influence of a drink. So it means care is not provided in time. Yeah. And the sad part is if you didn't know your colleague or friend
Yeah.
had a condition. Yeah. So if they had a condition, they fell, or they say they're asthmatic, or they are diabetic, then or they're epileptic.
Yeah.
So all these things build up, and you assume, no, I think this guy just needs to sleep this over. Then you find in the morning you hear a different story.
Yeah. The festive season, Meshach, is also about, grilling stuff, choma, and there's a lot of open fires. What dangers does that pose? And what emergencies have you seen when it comes to, during the festive season, a lot of chomaing happens. What emergencies have you seen? You
can actually be burnt by the choma itself or the coal that is making that choma. In preparation for that, you have fires. You even have the issue of those who use cigarettes. And then you also have the danger of there's gas as well, because there are those who use gas.
Gas grills.
Gas grills.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So there's always that danger of you need to have it, use it in an exposed where there's a lot of oxygen, so that because normally gas in an enclosed environment can blow up, and the repercussions are really bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So be conscious and be careful. I think the key thing is whichever kind of scenario you're in, avoid anything that can transform it into an incident or an emergency, because that's what I'm saying. The meat itself could burn you, or the oil itself. Again, so you'll have oil burns, you have direct heat burns. So in such cases, if that happens, then again, as I said, you put a wet cloth around it. So then at least it reduces the pain.
Okay.
But depending on what level of burn it is, because there's first, second, and third degree. First is the top, second is the one just below your, I can't remember the actual name.
The different levels of skin.
Yes. So the third one has gone really deep. And they all need, the first one is manageable, but the most painful first, of course, is the top one.
Yeah.
So the other down need to be now managed at the hospital, because it's gone through several layers. So avoid that. Be careful when you're around fire. Even let your kids not just run when you're picking your coal. Now the meat is really prepared with the makaa, charcoal. When the wood has become proper charcoal. I'm trying to translate.
It is. Don't worry, we can totally understand you.
So that is the one that best prepares the meat. And that is also quite hot. And you have children that may run around there, wanting to be around their dad, because their dads or their uncles.
Yeah.
So it's good that they are very careful around that. And you also have the issue of smoke, because if you're in an enclosed environment, that smoke is carbon dioxide, but also carbon monoxide, especially at night. You want to keep warm,
Yeah.
and you have lit a jiko in your home. So that the invisible
Carbon monoxide.
carbon monoxide is very deadly. So we need to be very careful. Don't be in an enclosed environment when you have the jiko there, because that can easily, we've known of cases of people who just pass on just because of that. And I think even in the news there have been cases such as that. They're trying to keep warm, especially in this cold season. So you need to be really conscious of that.
Yeah, carbon monoxide is dangerous.
Yes, and of course carbon dioxide because of the smoke. Again, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Meshach, for coming to share these insights. I'm sure for the parents who are watching, for everybody who's watching, this is going to be very important for them during the holidays. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too.
Thank you for watching today's episode of Today's Parent, where we focused on how we can prevent accidents that happen during the holidays. I hope you've learned a thing or two. The one thing that I've learned, that it's important for you to have a first aid kit and to take insurance, possibly ambulance insurance, to help you out during the holidays, because you never know. I have been your host, Christine Kasina, and this has been Today's Parent, and we've been here in studio at Little Cribs, the home of fun, exciting, durable, and affordable kids furniture. If you're looking for parenting resources, head over to www.supermamas.co.ke. We thank you so much for your time. See you next time.